everything. Then Jeff delivered an incredible revelation about his dad, the Messiah.
God came down on Michael and forced him to consummate with Christiana. I mean, it was a terrible, strange act of God. He did an astonishing thing that I was astonished, and so was Michael.
Michael had made no mention of sleeping with his son's wife. I got the feeling this was a story I wasn't supposed to hear. And when Michael found out I knew, he asked me for an opportunity to explain just how God had made it happen.
I stood up like this, and suddenly I was forced down on the floor, and I had to get down. I was down just about like this, and I was in pain, and all I could do was groan. All I could do was kind of rock, and I started seeing that the consummation with Christiana was imminent, and I was going to be I was going to have to do that.
I was just laying awake, and I was thinking about coming over here. And I said to Father, I said, when I go over there, if Michael invites me in, I will ask for the consummation tonight.
So was it just a single occasion, this literal physical consummation?
No, it wasn't.
But you consummated more than once?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Why is it necessary to consummate more than once?
Could you not answer that question yourself? When you marry a wife, do you consummate only once? Does she stop being married to you after your wedding day?
The world, they would look at it a different way. You know, they would just see that an affair happened or something. But that's not what happened.
I finally understood why so many can't wait for the end of the world, and the bodily ascent to heaven that Michael has promised. The last 7 years has left many broken, crushed by what Michael has put them through.
A child is very open to someone in a position of authority and has learned to not question, and cult leaders demand that people do not question. So children are often received well in these kinds of environments, but also they're unfortunately very vulnerable to the programming because they haven't had a lot of life experiences, so they haven't had their own programming. And so there are a lot of empty spaces to fill. And what a child goes through in a cult is different than an adult who is choosing it, certainly, because this is really the only life they remember, the only life they know. And consequently, when people leave a cult, it's a very different kind of counseling for someone who chose it as an adult or someone who was raised in it as a child, because for a child you're really having to introduce them to society outside the cult.
It was the end of October with just a few days remaining until the end of Michael's prophecy. We made a stop to visit Matthew and his sister at home with their mum Pam. We planned to see how they'd coped with life after Michael. But the children were gone. They'd returned to Michael and the cult.
Taken all the pictures down on that he had in here. So, yeah, this was his room.
Pam said her daughter Tiara starved herself until she was allowed to return. On Michael's instructions, her children pressured her into signing custody over to their grandparents in the cult. Finally, she gave in.
That was the hardest thing I'd ever had to do because I didn't want to give up my children.
And the thing is nobody could see how hard I fought for them.
How was it up there?
One way it could be described as hell.
It was hell?
Yes.
Living with your mum?
Yes.
Started telling us things that weren't true about Michael.
Like, what does she tell you?
That he's perverted and gross and weird and all these things that I know aren't true because I know Michael. And I told Father, I said, Father, if I have to stay here, just kill me. I can't handle it. I felt like I was literally going to go insane.
Here, the children are taught, follow your conscience, do what God tells you.
See, people outside say, well, you know, it's fine if you're an adult and you join a group like this because that's a choice you make. But when children are born into groups like this, they say, well, these children have not really made a choice about it. They've been born into it. And that this is the world that they know. This is the only world that they know.
Excuse them, Dave. They're laughing at you because they know very well they made a choice. These children have found life. They found the more to life that your world does not possess.
They wouldn't know that, though, would they? Because they've never really had an opportunity to experience it properly.
How do you experience the world properly?
When it's not skewed by your interpretation of it.
Well, let me tell you, Ben, my son and I were raised in your world. I was educated in your world. I know very well how empty it is, and it goes nowhere. All you got is your DVD movies, going to the cinema, waging wars, paying your debts. That's all you have. When really, the world properly is to hear God speak to you, have Him fulfill His purposes in you, and feel the exhilaration of just talking with angels, where you do real things and not just things that keep your lusts satisfied for a while.
But doesn't this group just satisfy your needs, Michael? This church is really about your needs, isn't it?
It's about my sacrifice. I've sacrificed my life for them. And it began 7 years ago. My life is theirs. Everything I have given to them.
That's true.
Michael was not used to being challenged, and I could see the contempt in his eyes as he tried to stare me down. If he truly believes his own divinity, why has he so crudely manipulated his followers? I found his complete refusal to take any responsibility for what he's done here chilling. Like cult leaders before him, Wayne Bent has created his own universe, regardless of the cost to his followers, even his own son. He's a man who's lost control of his ego, and any attempts to reason with him seemed futile.
Did you have any more questions?
I don't think so.
Tell you something. If this were to happen to me today, I would never have gone. But when you are young, 19, 20 years old, you're not prepared for life, and anything is possible in a group.
Make up stories about yourself to boost your importance.
I have special access to the aliens.
But don't be stupid about it. Start slowly. A good con man takes a little bit of truth and a lot of lies and pulls the wool over the eyes of the ignorant.